Hello and welcome to the Soul Food Book Club. I'm Teri Angel, and we have a very special guest with us today. We have Kathleen Caputo. We call her Mama Hado Bear. Welcome, Kathleen.
Hi, how are you? So
Oh,
happy to be here. Thank you, Teri.
oh, yes, we're so happy to have you with us. And let's welcome everybody in the Zoom room. We have Auntie Jean in Texas.
Hi.
We have Charlie in New York.
Hello, everyone.
And we have Aunt Mary Lou in Massachusetts. We can't see you, but we can hear you if you speak. Okay, we're having some technical problems there on Mary Lou's side. But anyway, we are here because of Hado Bear's secret. And if you all are like me, I just love this book. I love the message of the book. I love the energy of it. And Kathleen, we invited you in to share with us about Hado Bear's secret today. And I know we just are bringing so much love your way for what you have done, so much gratitude for bringing this to us. So I'm just going to let you speak.
Oh, thank you. I am so sorry that I couldn't get on the computer because I would have shared some pictures also. But Hado Bear actually started in my mind many, many years ago. I didn't know it was going to be Hado Bear, but I started reading about consciousness. And I was introduced to Edgar Cayce in my 20s. In my 30s, it was Louise Hay. And I found that with Louise Hay, I learned more about how to change her thoughts. And I read in the back of her book that she was a religious science minister in New York City. And I had no idea what that was at the time. But I kept on reading more and more about consciousness. And a friend of mine who was a classmate of mine when I was taking an energy healing course called Therapeutic Touch, told me about her friend who was becoming what they called a practitioner in this one religion. And she said he would start a study group with us. And I had already started reading Joel Goldsmith. And Joel Goldsmith to me was a perfect transition from being Catholic into learning more about consciousness. And I found that this man whose name was Ian that was starting to teach us, people used to call him Joel because he was so much like Joel Goldsmith. And I found out he was becoming a practitioner and a minister in religious science, which is not Scientology. And I decided one time, I'm sitting at my desk at home, I had a commercial real estate company, and I actually heard it's time that you become a minister. And I found a church in Long Island and I started classes. And I noticed when I went there that they had nothing for children. And I asked the minister there if I could start a junior church. And she said yes, because she had seen that I had been studying already for a couple of years. And I noticed that had I known about consciousness, how our thoughts create our reality, my world would have been much different when I was a child growing up and now, because I wouldn't have had fear. I wouldn't have had doubt. I would have felt better about myself because that's what we teach all of the children. And I said, I'd like to be able to write a children's book. And I read a book called Lightworker by Savannah Arianta. And in the back of the book, it said that she did readings. And something told me to call this woman. And this was in the end of 2014. And she said to me, I see words all around you. And you are going to write a book. And it's going to be a children's book. And it's going to be not only a book, but there's going to be other products that go with it. And so I started writing in my iPad different ideas as I would sit and watch TV. And I thought that I would have to take like a week off from work to be able to put all of these ideas together. And one Sunday, it was a beautiful Sunday, and I was not on duty at my church because I finally became a minister. I went for a walk and everything was just downloaded. And I came home and wrote the book in an hour. And it was a very short book at the time, and I've written it 30 times over before I published it myself. And I didn't know what I was really going to call it at that time. And a friend of mine also told me about how children love bears. And I had already gotten this huge bear when I went to meet with Dr. Emoto, who came from Japan, and he wrote a book, The Hidden Messages in Water. And he believed that our thoughts, our words, and beliefs are reflected back to us in our life experience. But he also believed that water reflects that back to us. And he did experiments. He took one vial of water and wrote "You fool" on it. He wrote "Thank you" on another vial of water. He left it there overnight, and then he took a drop of water out of each vial, and he looked at what happened to that drop of water after it was frozen. And "You fool" turned into something really ugly looking, and "Thank you" turned into a beautiful water crystal, like a snowflake. And I met with him, and I met with his company, and we were going to do jewelry that represented all these different experiments that he did and all the water crystals. We couldn't really come to terms with the business part of it, but I started studying with him, and I became a Hado instructor. Now, he tells us that the word Hado in Japanese is the vibrational pattern of energy that we're all made out of. So that's how I wrote the book, and that's how Hado Bear got his name. Because when I met with Dr. Emoto, I was with a friend of mine who was going to design the jewelry. And we went past the gift shop one day, and in the gift shop was this huge stuffed polar bear. And my friend knew I hadn't grown up yet, so she just pointed to the bear and she said, "Kathy, that has to be your bear." And $125 later, in a big box on the plane, I brought this bear home, and I named him Hado Bear because I met with Dr. Emoto that day. And he teaches children in the book that we're all different, but we're all perfect just the way we are. And in the beginning of the book, it's kind of a true story. It shows him being put in the gift shop, and two women walk by, and one woman points to the other one and says, "That has to be your bear." So then I bring the bear home to my goddaughter, Janine, and I have a goddaughter, Janine, and they both realized that they weren't feeling very good about themselves. In the beginning of the book, when Hado Bear is placed in the gift shop, he finds that nobody's buying him. Children come in and look at him and want to take them, but yet they buy something else. That's it, where he's right in there. That's when he's first put in the gift shop. And then the next page will show him with all the other toys. And children are coming in, but nobody's buying him. And after days go by, he starts to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't anybody buy me? Maybe I have to be a dog or a cat. Maybe I should be a different color. And these are the things that children and even adults go through, wondering, what's wrong with me? And he's asking, what do I have to do to make somebody love me? And again, that got to my heart, because I know I've thought about that at times. I think we all have. And at that point, we changed the names to protect the innocent. Donna and Marie go by, and Aunt Donna eventually buys Hado Bear. And she brings him home, and she gives him to her niece, Janine. And Janine loves the bear. And now she's trying to figure out, well, what am I going to call my bear? And she remembers that Aunt Donna had told her about a Japanese word, Hado. And she remembers what Hado means. And she remembers that she learned that Hado is energy, just like we have energy that makes our heart go and our brain and everything else. And she talks to Aunt Donna about that. And she realizes that that would be the best name for him, is Hado Bear. and that Hado Bear would remind her about how important our thoughts and our words are. So she brings him upstairs that night and puts him in her bed and says goodnight to him. And he's thinking about it and he's saying, "Good night, Janine," and he's whispering to her. And when he wakes up in the morning, he hears her crying. And he's wondering, oh my gosh, what's wrong with Janine? And how am I going to help her? How am I going to find out what's wrong? And he realized that he has to tell her his secret. And he gets very brave and he takes a deep breath and he talks to her and he says, "What's wrong, Janine?" And Janine's looking all around the room. She doesn't see anybody. And then he finally tells her his secret, that he can talk. And so they talk about what's wrong, and what she is feeling is that the kids at her new school don't like her. And he tells her about what he went through when he was in the gift shop, until her Aunt Donna came along and said she loved him and that there was something special about him. And he finally realizes, you know, maybe I am okay. Maybe I am good. And so they decide that they're going to talk to Aunt Donna about it, because Janine did not want to go to school that day. So they go downstairs to breakfast and they're looking at each other wondering, when should we tell the secret? And finally, Janine tells Aunt Donna and her Uncle Bill that she was crying that morning because she didn't want to go to school, and that she felt that the kids there didn't like her. And Hado Bear comforted her and told her it's okay. So Aunt Donna and Uncle Bill look at her saying, "He's a stuffed animal. Yeah, how could he tell you that?" And then he finally says, "Oh yes, I can talk." And Aunt Donna explains to both of them how important it is to understand that we're all different and that we're all perfect just the way we are. And Aunt Donna shows, there they are, Aunt Donna shows them and Hado Bear that it's wonderful that he can talk. That is so great. And that it's perfect just the way he is. And she explains to Donna, to Janine, that if you're a good friend to your classmates and you're kind, then they will start to like you too. So they both decide, Janine decides, you know what, I'm going to go to school today after all. And she asks the bear, "Would you like to come with me, Hado?" And he's thrilled and he says, "Oh yes, I'd love to go to school with you." So they go to the schoolyard and they see a little boy sitting by himself, very sad. And so Donna remembers what Janine remembers what Aunt Donna told her: be kind to your classmates and be a friend to them. So they both go over to him and they find out his name is Joey. And Joey tells them that he started playing with the other kids, but he couldn't run as fast as them. So he came over to just sit by himself, and he felt that nobody was going to like him. And so Hado Bear explains to Joey that he doesn't have to change to be liked, that he's perfect the way he is, and that we're going to be your friends. And Joey's whole demeanor changed. The sad face went away and they became friends. And then all the other kids started to come over to them. And Hado Bear spoke to the kids and they were thrilled that he could talk. And he explained about what Hado is. And so they all had a great day at school that day. They all learned about Hado and how they can change their thoughts and their words to have a good day. And then later on in the book, you'll see a mirror of Hado and Janine in the mirror. And it says, "You are special," and to look in the mirror and see just how special you are. And at the back of the book, it's kind of a teaching book. We actually have questions that a parent or an adult can go over what the child learned in the book. And we also have another exercise called Turn It Around. And what we do is we give the children 10 negative statements, And then we also give them 10 positive statements, and they pick the positive statement that turns around that negative statement. So how many of us have gone into a test in school saying, I'm never going to pass this test? So the positive would be, I always easily answer any questions. And we have another game there, a jumble. But also in the back of the book, we talk about Dr. Emoto and his experiments and what Hado means. And all of the children in the book, the names of them actually are people that mean a lot to me. So the book also means a lot in that respect, that I've named many of the people, all the people, for people that I love.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So you had typed in the chat about something that had touched you and reminded you of something. Do you want to share that?
If you could speak up just a little bit on my phone, I'm not hearing too well.
Okay, I was reminding Aunt Mary Lou that she had typed something to us in the chat and asked if you'd like to talk about that.
Hi, Kathleen. I just
Hi.
loved the book. I purchased it a few months ago and passed it along to my grandson, Lucas. And he loved it. And I'm thinking now that we've had a chat, I'm going to take it out and reread it with him again. It's the kind of book that you can do that with. I wished I had more time to spend with him, because one of my favorite things about the book is the questions that you ask and the method of learning how to turn things around. I just love it so much. And I love the part of the book where you know, he's in the store waiting to be loved by somebody, and he just doesn't quite know it yet. And he reminds me of that storybook Corduroy. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was in the store waiting to be loved too, and they finally found each other. And it's just a beautifully well-written book, and thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Well, thank you so much. You know, it's so funny. I hadn't read Corduroy, and then people bring that up to me. And how old is your grandson?
He's 7. He's 7.
Oh, that's the perfect age for this. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think so. Yeah, because he still can love the stuffed animal, which you sent along. And and I purchased it through our one of our fundraising efforts here at the book club. And so I purchased it through Grace Isis, and I sent her the certificate.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that's the other one that got the certificate. Yes.
Yeah. I just love that you send those certificates, and that and that the bear is included with the story. It's just so wonderfully done.
Thank you.
And I learned so much myself with the book. I think often children's books do that for us adults. And Teri had mentioned Dr. Emoto to me when we did a water blessing in my town together.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked to me about the power of the vibration and the pattern of energy in water.
And when we think about, we're made of mostly water. So when we're using negative words and we have negative thoughts, it's affecting us physically also. And that's what Dr. Emoto showed. And when I show children the water crystals and the way it turns into something ugly when you write or have thoughts that are negative, that's how the children get it. Visually, children are visual, and they gasp. And they, oh my gosh, we didn't realize that. And I think I told everyone before, I read the book to 8.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're muted yourself, Kathy.
You muted.
Can't hear you.
Kathleen, you muted yourself, honey.
Oh no.
There you go.
There you go.
Absolutely amazing that they had me also go to the preschools, and the preschools, I just summarized each of the pages similar to what I did today. But that's it. Auntie Jean, exactly. Absolutely beautiful.
This one is prayer.
Yes. And that's
And
what Dr.
this
Moses
one,
did. He did this with prayer.
honesty.
And which one is that?
Honesty.
Honesty. Yes.
Huh?
What
So
else do you
they're
have?
beautiful. They're just really beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I can't be able to show everyone. That's great.
Beautiful. What was that one? Prosperity. And I'm just sorry that I'm not teaching anymore.
I felt the
Because,
same way.
you know, I taught middle schoolers.
Mhm.
I read them many children's books for the moral, for the beautiful lesson that they were teaching. And this book is just marvelous. It's just it would have I would have read it, they would have loved it. I know people think they would have made fun. They would have loved this book because they feel that way a lot, especially at that age. You know, they're so concentrating on belonging and having people like them and
Mhm.
and not to be different than the other person. And, you know, so they would have just loved it. So
Oh.
I just have that one regret that I'm not teaching them right now. But I'm sharing it with my daughter, and maybe she'll start reading it to her class.
Uh-huh. Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me, especially from someone who's in the education field. It's pretty amazing to hear that. And you know, I think especially girls need to hear this because there's so much pressure to look a certain way, to be a certain way, and it's important for them to know that you don't have to be skinny, you don't have to be whatever. You don't have to be a model on a magazine. You're lovable and loved just the way you are. And I also think nowadays, when with everything people are going through, we all have to know that no matter what's going on outside, we know that we're okay inside.
You know, and you really taught me a lesson too today, because I was just telling Teri before we came on that I had apologized to Grace Isis because she was doing this wonderful thing after chanting last night where she was showing us the beautiful sights on Fifth Avenue in New York City. And I apparently have not lost that fear yet, because I was scared for her the whole time she was there. I was trying to get her, go back in the car, Gracie. Please go back in the car. But, you know, she was perfectly safe. Like I told Teri, the angels protect her, you know, and I know they do. They just shine right through her. And so there wasn't any reason for, she's a smart woman. And there wasn't any reason for me to be that fearful. So, but so I've got something. I've learned a lesson today too. So
That's wonderful. That's good. You know, Hado Bear has a nonprofit where we send out the books, bears, and those superhero certificates to children that are seriously ill. And one of the things that I do with the mothers, and I can't even imagine what a mother goes through with someone that has a seriously ill child. But it's normal for them to be afraid that something more serious is going to happen with the child. And I try to explain to them that the more that they could just start to see the child as well, to see that perfection in them, the more they're going to attract that for the child, rather than staying in that fear, because that attracts more fear. And it's hard in the beginning to do that. But if you can do it over and over, even just a little bit every day, you can find that you start to calm down and it actually helps the child.
I don't want to
changing
be
our
the only
thoughts.
one talking here, but Karen is amazing.
Yes,
Karen
she-
Palmer teaches classes, teaches children about consciousness and being aware that they're important and that they're safe, and that I can't even imagine. She's just such a special person. And as soon as I came in contact with you, I said, you have got to meet Karen because you're both on the same page, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely, definitely.
Thank you
So
so
does
much.
anyone, yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'd like to hear from Charlie. Charlie, I think this book has touched you, the story and the energy. Do you want
And
to talk
Charlie has
about?
helped Hado Bear an awful lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I just read it last night for the first time. I mean, I've had it here for, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, I don't know. But I finally read it and found out where the name Hado came from. And from the energy from Dr. Moto, and it's really a good book, and it's not only for children. It's I've given it to people, gifted it to other people that are going through difficulties with different medical issues and cancer and stuff, and they anytime they're having a bad day, they just sit down with the bear and read the book, and it calms them down and stuff. So it's not for just 7-year-olds. It's 7 to 70 to 90 to whatever, that it really can help people of all shapes, kinds, colors, whatever. It's really a good book.
Thank you, Charlie. And Charlie is the president of a foundation that actually donated 100 books and bears to Stony Brook Hospital. And I can't thank him enough for doing that, and that it's going to help many, many children and families. So thank you, Charlie.
No problem.
I find on Amazon, most people that write a review say the same thing, that it's not only for children, it's also for adults. And a friend of mine, even before she wrote the book, she said to me, I think you wrote this, when she read it, she said, you wrote this book to yourself, which is true. And I think most of us go through what Hado Bear and Janine went through. And it's so important to have that background. Again, when I was small, if I had known what Hado Bear knows now, my life would have been very different. And that's what we want to do. The children that I taught at our junior church we started in 2002, they're grown now, and they have much different lives. They're much more confident. They're secure in what they do. They're very successful. And it makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
Absolutely. I want to welcome, I'm sorry, Jean. I want to welcome Lisa Bantu in the audience. And Lisa wanted the name of the book, so I typed that in for her and the author's name. And you can find that on Amazon. Is that right, Kathleen?
Yes.
But if you want the bear and the book, Kathleen, how do they do that?
You can actually email me at Kathy@hadobear.com, KATHY@HADOBEAR.com.
I put that in the comments. And yes, Lisa said that she appreciates sharing it and she will gift it for Christmas. Thank you, Lisa.
That's great. Thank you.
I don't know if I should say this, but to me, Hado looks like you.
Looks like who? I'm sorry.
he looks like you. I
Oh,
mean,
my-
when you look at him, the beautiful countenance that he has, and his little smiley face and his big shiny eyes, to me, it's like looking at you. And I think it's the spirit that he projects to the children is the same kind of spirit you project to us. And I just love that. It just makes the book more dear to me.
Auntie Jean, you're hysterical. I love that because my attorney, when he saw Hado Bear, he said, "You are Hado Bear. You
Oh,
look like Hado Bear." He said the same thing. And I have to say, when I look into the big Hado Bear, the big stuffed animal, he's got these big eyes. And I can say it to everybody here. Some people might think I'm crazy. I see a spirit. I see a soul in this stuffed animal. He's alive to me, and I think he's alive to the universe.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
He's got that spirit. So thank you, Auntie Jean.
and you've taken it a step further too, haven't you, with the messages that you send
Yes,
with
those are
Hado Bear.
beautiful.
Yeah, every Wednesday on Facebook, we put Hado Bear's wise words, and he has an affirmation for children and adults. And we also have Hado Bear Kids Club. It's a private club, but if you'd like to join, we'd be happy to have everyone on there.
So there's no age limit on the kids club,
Nope.
huh? Okay.
Well, a friend of mine gave me a birthday card a couple of years ago, and I still have it in my living room, and it says never grow up, and that's how I feel. Never grow
too.
up. We can be mature, we can be smart, but we don't have to get rid of that child within us.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what was today's message?
I will tell you I'll tell you right now. Hold on. It's basically about being balanced, that I have time for play, I have time for learning, I have time for whatever else it was that I put on there, and to have a balanced life, not just be all play or all work or all studying. And that's what I used to do. I was very much into playing and studying. So it was more of a balanced life, where after a while, I started to become an alcoholic, no, not that, a workaholic. And
A little bit different there.
that I'm not. That was a Freudian slip. And I'm more balanced now that I've retired from commercial real estate for 30 years. And I have my time with Hado Bear, but I also take my time to relax. Which we all have to do.
We all have to
And
do
I
that.
find that this time of COVID, as difficult as it can be, has actually been a partial blessing to be able to do that, to go within and to really find ourselves and to find that calm, which we do with Teri every morning on Cup of Joy.
Mhm.
Love being on there.
Thank you, Kathleen. And let's say hello to Kathy Hand, who just popped in for a minute. She's at work today, but she came in to see what we were doing. And thank you, Kathy, for jumping in here. Kathy's going to be down here in Florida in a few days, and I'm hoping to be able to see her this weekend on Sunday when I go up into New Smyrna.
That's great. Hi, Kathy.
And Lisa says, what was your inspiration to create such a wonderful book? Kathy talked about that at the very beginning. Do you want to do just a shortened version, Kathleen?
Sure. When I became a minister and a teaching that teaches about consciousness, I realized that had I known about this when I was a child, I was brought up Christian, and my life would have been very different. And so that's what I wanted to bring to children. When I read Louise Hay, I noticed that she was a minister, and she was a minister in the teaching I'm in, but she wrote a book that was for the masses. She didn't just keep it in her church. She brought it out to everyone, and that's what I wanted to do. That was my role model to do this.
You're doing it so well. I certainly appreciate the message, and I talk about you all the time to people, and especially people who have either young kids themselves or grandchildren, great grandchildren, or some adult even. As Charlie had mentioned, it's not just for kids, it's for all of us. Anybody who needs that extra bit of knowledge that you are worthy and you are enough. And I think also a big message, and one that I teach as well, is life should be fun. Let's have fun. Let's play like we're kids again. No matter what our age, we can go back into that energy of play. So I really appreciate it. And Hado Bear rides along with me in that angel mobile everywhere I go along the tour. He's one of my navigators. God knows I need many navigators.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Wow. That is really great.
Thank you for bringing Hado Bear to life and for giving us all more inspiration in this world. We certainly need that every day.
Well, Hado Bear thanks you so much for loving him the way you do and supporting him and everyone, all of the P's. We really appreciate all of you.
Anyone else have a question or a comment before we end the show today? Wow, this hour really flew by.
Yes, I do.
All of our shows are doing that, though. Have you noticed that? Every time we get on, it's like, oh, it's time to say goodbye.
Time is doing funny things right now. I keep losing spaces of time. I turn around and I say, it can't be that time. Yes, it is. So I don't know what's going on, but me and time are not getting along right now.
Right there with you, Jean.
Yes. Goes by too quick.
Beautiful book, and I highly recommend it for adults. And I recommend them getting the bear because he's so lovely. And who says we don't need a hug once in a while from a bear?
You know, Kathleen, it reminds me of my favorite Psalm 139, when God told us that, you know, he created us in his image and we're made perfectly made. And no matter where we are, we're never alone because he's there with us in the mountains and the valleys, and wherever we go, God is going to be there with us.
That's,
you know,
for sure.
You didn't really, you didn't address God per se, you know, but I felt that message very strongly in your beautiful story.
Oh, thank you. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things that I think about a lot is I wanted to be able to send this out to everybody, no matter what religion they are, no matter what culture, because that's who comes to my church. We have people from all different religions, all different cultures. I was brought up in a family of Catholics, Protestants, and Jewish. So I was always very aware that no matter which way you go, you're always going toward God. And I wanted to get that across to everyone. So I didn't want to turn anyone off. And yeah. I appreciate you mentioning that. Thank you so much. And one of the things we teach the kids all the time in my church is God didn't make any junk. So don't say bad things about yourself or about anybody else, because then you're not honoring that creator that made you out of itself. So thank you for bringing that up.
No, thank you.
So true. You know, when I was younger, we would say that in a different way, Kathleen. We'd use a double negative. God don't make no junk.
That's even better with the double negative.
That's a beautiful thought to teach children.
It is.
so many children grow up thinking that they can't meet the muster of anything anymore, and so that was beautiful, beautiful thing for them to know.
I have a cousin that's a chef, and so we've been putting together recipes to write a children's a recipe book that will also have affirmations for each one of the recipes. So we're going to start working on that in January.
Oh,
Awesome.
Very cool.
I probably can use those recipes too.
Yeah,
'cause
and
I'm not much of a cook. So.
I'm not either, so I need her to be able to put the recipes together. And it's everything she taught her grandchildren. All easy recipes to do.
Nice.
Well, I can't wait.
Beautiful. Well, I just want to thank you, Kathleen, for being with us today. Just such an amazing, beautiful energy that you are. I love you so much. And we've all enjoyed Hado Bear and Hado Bear's secret, and giving it as gifts is the perfect thing to do, especially this time of year. If you're looking for that special gift, consider this. And when you email Kathleen, if you would like Hado Bear to make a video, this is also something that Kathleen offers, one of the services.
That's right.
So that would be a very special present to give somebody at the holidays. Important, private, encouraging message from Hado Bear. So Kathleen, I just want to say I love you and thank you, and see if
I
there's
love you, all of you too.
is there anything you want to leave us with today? Any words of inspiration from Hado Bear?
I want to leave you with love and light. No matter what is happening, no matter what we're seeing with our physical eyes, we have to know that behind that is the light of God. And when we look for it, we'll find it. No matter what the situation, no matter what the problem, within that situation, within that challenge, within that problem is always the answer and is always the solution. So just look for it, you'll find it.
And,
Thank you.
and take a look in the mirror, everyone, and see how special,
That's
special
right.
you are.
That's right, Charlie. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you to our Zoom family with the book club. I appreciate you all so much. So we're going to leave you now and wish you a blessed rest of your day. Namaste.
Namaste, y'all.
y'all.
Have a
Hi,
great day,
everybody.
everyone.
Love you.